So let me ask you guys this. All right. We've had the foreign buyers ban. Before that, we had the foreign buyers tax, flipping tax, assignment tax. We banned Airbnb. We, increased the tenant rules to make it more favorable for the tenant. We brought in a lot of new rules. Okay. And now today we're in a situation where housing starts are down 68% in Toronto and they're down 48% in Vancouver. And if you actually look at the chart of housing starts in Toronto, it literally looks like it's going to zero. Like it probably won't be zero, but it'll be pretty much zero. So let me ask you this. All right. What do you guys think is worse for housing affordability? A speculator, I guess you could call them, buying a presale condo and literally leaving it vacant, but at least they contributed to that project being able to hit financing requirements and then being built to allow all of the other units in the building that maybe aren't vacant, allowed that to be built, if that makes sense, or the building entirely just not getting built at all. And I think the obvious answer is that the building not being built at all is worse for housing affordability. The problem with these policies is that they always create a new issue, maybe not immediately, maybe not in a year, maybe not in 2 years, maybe not in 3 years, but at some point they will create a new issue wearing a different, it's the same issue basically wearing a different uniform is what it ends up creating, right? Like I like to use the analogy that it's like playing whack-a-mole, right? Like we have like Airbnb and we have like foreign buyers and then no new housing supply pops up over here. Rising unemployment pops up over here, which is the other thing, right? When you have housing starts down 68% in Toronto, now their unemployment rate is at 9.5%. They have a whole bunch of completions this year. When those completions are done, construction workers probably won't have another project to go to. And is housing really more affordable when a shitload of people just don't even have a job, right? Like the price of real estate could be anything and it's unaffordable if you don't have an income. Right. And I think even on like a statistical basis, right, if you have a whole bunch of people that were making 80 grand that are now making zero, wouldn't that bring down the median household income or the average household income in Canada, which would actually increase the price to income ratio in Canada and make it even more unaffordable on a price to income basis? So like, here's the thing. I understand that not every investor, not everyone who buys a home and leaves it vacant is buying a presale. Not everyone who's buying an Airbnb is buying a presale. However, it's basically like 70% of the buyer pool for any of these presale projects are investors. And when you limit the way that people are allowed to invest, you make it substantially more difficult for new housing supply to be built and brought to market. Another example of this is like I made a video about the Airbnb ban and how I thought it was going to screw up Kelowna. This was like, I don't know, a year and a half ago. It was like right after they did the ban, right? And somebody sent me an email. It's like a 3-page essay about how I'm completely wrong and I'm a bad person for thinking this way. And I didn't even reply to it. But lo and behold now, 3-4 months ago, they're talking about reversing that ban. Why? Because the negatives far outweighed the positives of doing that ban. Because if small businesses can't thrive in Kelowna, if they don't have tourism, if they don't have all these things, well, then housing doesn't actually get more affordable if everybody's making less money in that economy. And like, I understand that, a lot of these investors are also taking existing supply off the market and they're leaving existing supply vacant, which we have a vacancy tax, so I actually don't believe that that's happening at a very high clip either. Or they're taking existing supply and Airbnb-ing it, or they're doing all of these things. In my opinion, I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's helpful. But when we try to control it, we just make the problem worse somewhere else down the line. Like in the short term, yeah, things probably got a little bit more affordable because we banned Airbnb. Maybe. We have no way of actually knowing if it did anything. Let's just say it did. Maybe. However, 2-3 years out, we see a worse problem surface because of that, right? We increase, the rules that protect the tenants, which oddly enough, right? Now the federal government and the BC government are all talking about these rules and they're talking about changing them, right? David Eby said something like 2 months ago that, we need to get more landlord protection, and they're revisiting all of these rules. Why? Because they know that they've made the situation worse with them. So at the end of the day, my opinion is I think we should just leave things alone and let the market do what it's going to do. But I also think that we should leave it alone on both sides of the equation. right? Like we shouldn't, restrict demand, restrict demand, restrict demand. And then, now we need demand. Let's bring it back. Let's change all the policies. Let's do stimulus. Let's do that. Oh, people are losing. They're going to lose their home. Then let's roll out some policy or do something that kind of saves that from happening. I think if people were allowed to just make money, via the free market, but also just lose their shirt when it's time to lose their shirt, people would probably be a lot more careful about the way that they invest. You know what I mean? Like if you could actually, if losing your shirt was a thing and the government didn't come in every single time and backstop it and roll out policies and stimulus and all of these things, which unfortunately I think we have to do now going forward because we've already been doing that. And, you guys know my take on the economy as a guy who's taken too much steroids. Once you take too much steroids, you can't stop taking steroids. But in a perfect world, we would have never started the steroids. And if we just let the free market do what it's supposed to do and not restrict demand, and then on the back end of that start stimulating the demand again, we just let it do what it's supposed to do, I think things would work out a lot better. And I think home prices would be a lot cheaper today. But again, this is all just an opinion. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you want to chat with me about buying or selling, link down in the description. I'm that Agent Kelly. I'm making moves to move you. Peace.